so he was watching it from afar. Michael Crichton's wife and Michael Crichton wrote the script. And we never met him, but until we did some reshoots. Anyway, the story about the cow. I remember Jan, we would get in that car, in that truck, that Dodge truck, and it was Jamie Gertz and Helen and myself, and there'd be the windshield was taken down, there were 3 cameras right there, and I'd look over at Helen and say, yeah, they're putting on that 75 millimeter lens. From this range, you could take your head clean off. But I remember Jan getting frustrated because we were all looking at the cow in kind of a different place. He goes, Helen, Bill, Jamie, the cow is here. Now, follow my finger. Okay, here comes the cow. All right, now it's gone. The cow is gone. You don't see the cow. Here he comes again. It's ludicrous making movies. It's not a profession becoming a man, that's for sure. Who else has a question? Yes.
Just to keep it on the effects for a second, I know you've obviously done a lot of special effects heavy films, and then you also do a lot that aren't. I remember Ringling years ago, ILM, who you mentioned, came, and they talked about how one of the interesting things about filmmaking is that you're always pushing the technology to the limits. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you never really speed up the process of making a movie because you're just pushing it more and more. Have you found that, over the years, that has it gotten easier for you as an actor working with effects, or is it just it's a whole new ball game every film you're working on and you're just kind of rolling with it?
Well, I find working with the green screen and special effects is a little like being back in the high school play, where everything's kind of just a flat that's been painted, and it's you have to just kind of let yourself go and not worry about making a complete fool of yourself. I find that I was talking about this the other day. I mean, you're looking out the LEM window from 50 miles up from the moon, and then all of a sudden, they're going to you're looking at the floor of the stage. They're shooting a close-up of your face, and you're seeing the moon. And they're going to put a shot in there that's pretty eye-popping, and I usually find it's better just to bear witness to it. So the hardest thing for me on this film was not cussing. When you're about to get killed by an F5 tornado, you might go, "Oh shit!" Politeness kind of goes out the window, and "oh shoot" just doesn't quite do it. And I remember we had to do that all the time, and I remember the moment when I realized that Cary Elwes, who's the bad guy with this special team of black SUVs. They're always in black SUVs. These people get wise and drive pink SUVs. And I have to react that I hear over the radio that he's bit the dust. And I couldn't cuss. I remember I kind of did a freak out on the steering wheel, like, "Oh God, So get back to your question. It doesn't get any easier. I think I'm going to get out while the going's good. And I really would like to do a sequel to this movie. I really feel like we left a lot on the table there. There's so many incredible weather phenomena that I also learned about. Fish falls, where a tornado will go over a body of water and suck up fish and reptiles and carry them aloft for maybe 100 miles and rain them down on some unsuspecting town. Or trailer park. There's red rains, where it might pick up a kind of a red mud. It's biblical, where it was raining blood. It's just kind of red-colored mud. Or the coolest one I read about is what they call lightning balls, which a bolt of lightning will hit. They've hit planes, and it will create these kind of very unstable balls of electricity that'll float around almost like entities, and then they'll explode. I thought, to get into a movie and get into that. Also, I talking about the tri-state tornado, there's so much great tornadic lore, and it's such part of the American experience. And, ever since ever since I saw The Wizard of Oz, you know, most people were frightened of the witch. I was from Fort Worth, Texas, so the tornado scared the hell out of me. And I thought we didn't really get into the lore, the history, the great stories we could have been swapping or in this first movie. This movie was all about, let's go. There's the tornado. Come on, let's go. We got some gizmo. Looks like I don't know, weird like, what do it look
Dishwasher,
like?
I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna put the gizmo and we're gonna get it in there, and then the thing's gonna thing, and we're gonna learn so much. Yeah, but I remember we had to shoot, we had to come back for some pickup shots, and they wanted us to do this whole expository scene and explain to the audience what the Dorothy was, and this was Michael Crichton was super insistent about this. And I remember we were like somewhere up in California doing this, and I just remember it just seemed so ludicrous. Who cares what this thing's going to do?
Right.
Just tell them we're going to go chase the tornado, and it's going to be good for mankind. But I remember Michael Crichton, he hadn't been involved at all during the filming, and suddenly he was very insistent about us, you know, doing this dialogue a certain way.
Right.
I found that rather tedious.
Wow. Well, and back to The Wizard of Oz, they created the tornado. Talk about changes in technology. I think they used a nylon stocking with a fan. That was the tornado effect.
Who's nylon stocking?
Judy? I don't know.
I gotta tell you, when I saw that movie as a child growing up, that was the way that tornado, you saw it kind of moving like, you know, one way. And then all of a sudden it just kind of swang back. And I think that's what makes tornadoes, I think, so frightening, because they do almost have a weird entity, an anthropomorphic kind of vibe about them, because it might take out a whole block of one side of the street, yet the other side of the street is completely unharmed. And how do you reconcile the people who lost family members and you didn't even get your windows broken? And there's something primordial. The fear of tornadoes is like a shark fear. Again, going back to the Jaws thing, and it's one of those things that even if you're not from a country that has tornadoes, it's just something it's in our DNA to be afraid of these things. And they're like a rogue colossus murderer, the way that they're so capricious in who they decide to victimize and who they decide to spare. And let's face it, God, since this movie came out and even before, there's been so much interest in it. And now, because everybody's got a camera, right? People are getting amazing footage, home movie footage of these tornadoes. I love watching this stuff on the Discovery Channel. Oh, all right, hello. Anybody else?
Yeah. I had a question directed at both of you. Do you think in order to become more possible to do that anywhere else and still become a successful working actor?
I know for when we were coming up, you had to be in Los Angeles or New York. Nowadays, I don't know. I've never moved away from Los Angeles. Because a lot of times you get a job because somebody turned something down or got sick, or can you come in this afternoon? Can you be here in 30 minutes? And so I would tend to want to avail myself where they were hiring, although I have a lot of friends who've made good careers from going to regional places like Austin or Vancouver, where there's a lot of production. But I don't think you can really depend on that. But yeah, I think there's opportunity everywhere. The whole scene is changing so much now. I compare, I described Hollywood as this ex-president of Egypt, Mubarak. They're just out of touch. And now the people have taken over the technology. My kids are sharing stuff and YouTubing, and they make their own films and put them up on the internet. And so I don't know. I think we're such at the kind of infant stage of the digital age, and so think how much it's revolutionized our lives in the last 5 years, and that's